What is up? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day, however you're watching, however you're following the Ben Garcia Show, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or for free on the iHeartRadio app, or you're putting a face to the voice and you're watching on YouTube. We appreciate that as well. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. It has been a busy, jam-packed Tuesday today on the Ben Garcia Show. You don't want to hear me ramble about any introductions any further, so without further ado, let's jump into our top story of the day. So the top story around football is very simply not what happened on Monday Night Football, but the New York Jets making a move at head coach, getting rid of Robert Saleh. And this came as a shock to everyone. To everyone. I feel like I'm the only one that was like, yeah, well, what'd you expect? The Jets are always going to be the Jets. They have decided to take a side in this division between Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh, and they've made their choice. They have made their bed, and now they have to lay in it. And it's why that they continuously have to fight the battle between Aaron Rodgers, the front office, Nathaniel Hackett, who probably should have gotten the axe and didn't. First off, I appreciate authenticity. I appreciate honesty. If Aaron Rodgers would have came out and said, yeah, we didn't have a great relationship, I'd have been like, listen, I don't know if I would have chose Aaron Rodgers' side again. I would have said, figure it out, buddy. But at least he was being honest. If you think Robert Saleh got fired and Nathaniel Hackett didn't, and Aaron Rodgers had no hand in that, you're crazy. I mean, that's all it is. If you think that's true, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I'm ready to sell you. Seriously, that's how bad that is. When I see the Jets fire Robert Saleh, I rolled over my bed this morning, I checked the notification, and I said to myself, yeah, of course. The Jets haven't made a good decision in 2 decades. Outside of their little mini run with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez and company, going to back-to-back AFC championship games and losing both, they've been a pathetic organization. And they'll continue to do so. They have made their bed, and now they have to lay in it. It is crazy to me that the front office chose the side of the offensive side of the ball that has the same amount of touchdowns through 5 games as it did with Zach Wilson. You know, last year, when I had basically said, yeah, I'm not buying the New York Jets, and I didn't buy them this year either. And it wasn't because I have a hate for Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers, although he can drive me a little crazy at times, and this is one of those examples. Everyone that had told me, well, Aaron Rodgers is back with that defense, and all you have to do is add Aaron Rodgers to it, well, they're going to win 11 games. And my argument was always, every NFL season is different. You can't just add to what was last season. Last season was last season. Adding Aaron Rodgers to this roster changes nothing except this season. Let's see what happens. Bryce Huff was gone. The Hassan Reddick trade didn't work out. It is crazy to me that the New York Jets, not that they fired Robert Saleh, but that they thought anyone was going to buy this nonsense. Do you really think for a second anyone is buying Robert Saleh was the issue? Let me paint you a picture. The offense has looked atrocious. They have an OC that failed as a head coach and was never shown of being creative. An old, aging Aaron Rodgers who hasn't been good legitimately and statistically for 3 seasons now. The defense is what's keeping teams in check and just held the hottest offense in football to 20 points on the road in London, and you fire the leader of that defense. The issue with this team was not the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if Robert Saleh is a great head coach. Maybe he's not. Seems a little much like a hothead at times. Seems a little much like an alpha male personality that works at times as a head coach, but it felt like he went too much on the teetery-tottering side. But do you think you're getting better than Robert Saleh? It's like the Dallas Cowboys question. When every Cowboys fan or a casual NFL fan's like, get rid of Dak Prescott, and then do what? Get rid of Robert Saleh, and then do what? It's pathetic. You're not doing any better than Robert Saleh. The defense was humming with not only injuries, but players like Hassan Reddick not even showing up to the team because the front office botched that deal. This is all on Aaron Rodgers. Not some, not a little bit, all of it. This is why they always say, don't mix friends with business. And that's what consistently Aaron Rodgers has done. He does not like to be, in any sort of aspect, uncomfortable. He wants to be comfortable in every situation he's in, even if that means comfortable in losing. He wants Allen Lazard. He wants Randall Cobb. He wants whoever he gets on offense. They're going to trade for Davante Adams. That'll happen momentarily. We can just act like it already happened because it's going to happen. What Aaron Rodgers gets, Aaron Rodgers gets. That's the end of the story. This season falls directly on the shoulders of Aaron Rodgers, of Nathaniel Hackett, of the shortcomings of this offense, and not anything on Robert Saleh. I'm not sure if he's a great head coach. Jets weren't great before them. But what I can tell is I know he can coach because the defense looked fine. That wasn't the problem with Robert Saleh and the New York Jets. So continuously blaming him for the shortcomings is insanity. And pushing the panic button and ejecting a guy who's got the defense humming, what are you doing? This is squarely on Aaron Rodgers. The inability to work around uncomfortable situations like Aaron Rodgers is unable to do. Then lying to everyone saying the relationship wasn't fractured or he was caught off guard by the firing of Robert Saleh. Yeah, that's not how this works. I can assure you, any decision that is any decision will be ran through Aaron Rodgers. Right now, the owner, general manager, and head coach, and also quarterback of the Jets is Aaron Rodgers. He has failed the Jets. The Jets have not failed him. They have given him everything he's asked for and more. And then running away with this situation and firing the head coach who has done nothing but keep the offense in games, who has done nothing but give the offense a chance to win games. Robert Saleh wasn't out there throwing 3 interceptions against the Minnesota Vikings. That's what Aaron Rodgers was supposed to fix. He was supposed to bring stability to the offense. He was supposed to make them better, more competent. He was supposed to make them Super Bowl contenders. Aaron Rodgers has not delivered on his promise at all. Robert Saleh has. He made a competent defense one of the best in the NFL. He held one of the best offenses in the NFL in the Minnesota Vikings to 20 points. He is the only head coach, is the only DC in this instance that held Sam Darnold in check, who was once tearing up the league for the first 4 weeks. And you blame that guy? And you scapegoat that guy? Pathetic organizations do pathetic organization things. There's not a deeper meaning. There's not more to this firing. It's just that. Dumb organizations continue to do dumb things. And I'll make a video on this as well, but not only are the Jets giving in to Aaron Rodgers' demands of firing Robert Saleh, of bringing in whoever they want, they're going to get Davante Adams. And they're going to overpay for Davante Adams. Davante Adams has an enormous cap hit over the next 2 seasons. And they're going to overpay for him. They're going to give him whatever they want and more to make Aaron happy. Davante Adams is not fixing this offense. They've already got Breece Hall. They've already got Garrett Wilson. The offensive line is fine. It's not amazing. It's not good. It's just fine. Davante Adams is not fixing this train wreck. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to win the division. And when I tried to explain to people that competency and relevancy and all these things matter in an organization, matter in a locker room, Jets skipped all those steps. The Jets tried to microwave success, and it's blowing up in their face, and it will continue to blow up in their face, regardless if they trade, or I guess I should say when they trade for Davante Adams. They can fire the head coach. They can try to scapegoat him. This team's not making the playoffs. Originally, I thought maybe it's not happening. They're a train wreck. Aaron Rodgers has continued to bring chaos everywhere he's went over the past 4 seasons. He's a fun quote. He's fun to have on your show. At times, he's still fun to watch on the field. But he's not a leader. He brings nothing but chaos. He wants to mix friends with business. And he wants to put the blame on other people when it should go on him. But Aaron is not comfortable with uncomfortable situations. So whatever he can do to get out of it, he will do. And the New York Jets will scapegoat anyone to make Aaron Rodgers happy. Because they're a pathetic organization who haven't done anything in 2 decades and will continue to be a pathetic organization. And lastly, this Jets organization had a chance at getting a head coach that, if they wanted to fire Robert Saleh at the end of the year, they had a chance to get a head coach that actually matters in the NFL, that actually has some pull in the NFL. Now any head coach that has, or I guess I should say now any offensive coordinator, now any defensive coordinator that is worth anything in the NFL, that has options to pick and choose where he wants to go be a head coach, you are not taking the Jets organization. They continue to show that they're dysfunctional. The only thing they had is they showed that they would give their head coach time, and they didn't even do that with Robert Saleh. They didn't even let the guy see it out. This is an organization that has shot themselves in the foot once again. They will go into the offseason looking for a savior at head coach and get a second or third tier head coach and rinse and repeat that after 3 or 4 years. Because that's exactly what the New York Jets are. An incompetent, pathetic franchise. And I'm not surprised by this firing, and you shouldn't be either. Pathetic organizations do pathetic organization things. What normally would be my top story of the day on Tuesdays is a Monday Night Football reaction. But then you had the Robert Saleh issue, the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers, potentially Devontae Adams, which that will happen in some retrospect. But now we get to what happened last night between the Kansas City Chiefs and the New Orleans Saints. Even if I didn't watch 1 second of this game, and of course I did, that's my job. I figure out, find storylines, who's playing well, who's not playing well, whatever. But even if you didn't watch this game and you just saw Kansas City Chiefs beat New Orleans Saints any amount of score to any amount of score, you just know it looked exactly like it's supposed to. The Chiefs are the only team in the NFL that I have any stock in. Last year, I projected them to finish worse than they did the year before, not better. I didn't think they'd be a Super Bowl team because of the deficiencies at the wide receiver position, but it doesn't matter. This team just wins. And fans will try to make excuses for them. Fans will try to say they have the officials in their back pockets. Think about this. I know this might be hard for the casual fan to wrap their head around. Maybe the Kansas City Chiefs are just better than your favorite team. Because not only now are they defensive-led and a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes who hasn't been outstanding, although was much better last night this far through the season, they have a defense that will hold you in check. A New Orleans Saints offense that we thought was amazing through the first 2 weeks of the season. Couldn't do anything on the Kansas City Chiefs. It's such a lazy comparison, and I'm not going to act like I'm the first one to notice this, and I'm not going to act like it's an ingenious take. They're just the New England Patriots. It feels like in the NFL, once one dynasty dies, another one grows and takes its place. And that's what's happened with the New England Patriots dynasty, and then immediately now into the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty. I want to pick against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I love greatness. I love watching Patrick Mahomes. It's not anything against the Chiefs. I just, like everyone else, human nature, I want something different. But I can't in good conscience say any team has a chance to dethrone the Chiefs so far through the season. If I had to pick one team to put any stock in, because I haven't seen it yet in the biggest stage in the playoffs, it would be the Texans. But younger quarterback, defensive head coach, unsure about the offense at times, a lot of mouths to feed. Nico Collins is now injured. If you're telling me to pick that game, I'm taking the Chiefs. And here's what happens with the Chiefs in every game. at least so far this season. Defensive battle, hard-fought game all the way till late in the second half, about halfway through the third quarter. Patrick Mahomes gets it going and makes enough plays in crunch time that your quarterback cannot make and eventually wins the game. It's what it is every single time. Rashee Rice goes down, no big deal. We'll just make Travis Kelce look like a Hall of Famer again. It doesn't matter. This team was supposed to be better than they were offensively last year. You take away Hollywood Brown, you take away Rashee Rice, you take away Isaiah Pacheco, and unlike a pathetic organization like the New York Jets, where nothing works even with talent, and we just talked about that a minute ago, the Chiefs, just like the Patriots, with lesser talent, get more out of their players. It's eerily similar to the Patriots days. Danny Amendola doesn't work anywhere else, is awesome with the Patriots. Doesn't matter. Juju Smith-Schuster doesn't work out with the Patriots, works out perfectly for the Chiefs. Gets told to get out of town from the Steelers, works out perfectly for the Chiefs. Travis Kelce looks like a shell of himself for the first 3 games. We'll just bring him out. He'll be fine. Isaiah Pacheco, our 6th round, 7th round running back that we drafted, he gets hurt. Okay, Carson Steele, Kareem Hunt, you can come figure it out. It doesn't matter. They just figure it out. Left tackle, right tackle, offensive line issues. Someone gets injured, we'll just plug and play. This is what good organizations do. This is what competency does. This is what cohesion does. This is what years together does. And you're seeing it with the Chiefs. I have nothing new to say outside of, oh yeah, they're absolutely the New England Patriots, just a 21st century version of them, which I guess doesn't really make any sense because we're already there anyways. But just the brand new version of the New England Patriots. That's what the Kansas City Chiefs are. Once one dynasty dies, a newer, better, and greater one takes its place. And that's what we're seeing here. They continuously get more out of less. Patriots with Julian Edelman, Patriots with Danny Amendola, Patriots with whatever running back they want to throw in that situation. The Kansas City Chiefs, Juju Smith-Schuster, sure. We lose the corner to the Titans. It's fine. We'll just figure it out. We know Trent McDuffie's just as good. This is what the Chiefs do. They're getting more out of less. And even if Patrick Mahomes struggles all the way through the season, he won't, but let's say he does. Is there still any quarterback you trust more? With 2 minutes to go, down 4, you need a touchdown to win the game? There's not. There's not a weakness on this team. It's not like it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who we'll talk about later, who lean solely on defense, but close your eyes when they get on offense. When pen hits the paper, when you need Patrick Mahomes, when you need the offense, when you need Travis Kelce to break out of his funk, that's just what they do. That's just what they do. And honestly, to this point, it's getting kind of boring. It's looking just like the Patriots were. Boring. They're not going to surprise you with anything. Sure, they might get cute with a couple of trick play calls, but it's just boring. They will methodically break you down over the course of a long game. And that's exactly what we saw last night with the Saints. Derek Carr is feeling himself early in that game, is barking at the sidelines. Chiefs are fine. They don't worry about it. Just methodically will break you down over the course of the game. They are physical, but somehow still finesse. Those two things don't usually go together. The defense at this point is leading the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm not picking Patrick Mahomes to be the MVP like I did last year. He just hasn't been that good yet. But Rashee Rice out, Hollywood Brown out, Isaiah Pacheco out, starting offensive lineman goes down. It just doesn't matter. And it's not because the officials are in their back pocket, guy who put a bunch of money on the New Orleans Saints to cover. Maybe they're just better than your favorite team. Maybe because they don't look good offensively for the first half. We just know that they'll figure it out. They are situationally and in closeout clutch time situations the best in the NFL. And when you have that, plus cohesion, plus chemistry, plus years together, and a defense that is physical at the point of the attack and won't allow you to score more than 20 points in a game outside of Joe Burrow, you have no chance. And at this point, I didn't pick the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. One, because I thought it was kind of boring. But two, because it's just hard to get to the Super Bowl again. There is no team in the NFL I would pick comfortable. I would be comfortable picking against the Chiefs in a playoff situation. I've seen the Bills before. I've watched that story. I love Josh Allen. They're not doing it with Sean McDermott and the personnel that they have around him. I've seen the Ravens. They figure out a way to choke those games away every single time. They're not beating the Chiefs. The Texans are the only team that we haven't seen that potentially could dethrone the Chiefs, but I'm not picking them to do so. Second-year quarterback, second-year head coach. I just don't think they have the cohesion and chemistry to do that. Who on the NFC? The Lions would be fun, but are you really taking the Detroit Lions organization as a whole over the Kansas City Chiefs? The San Francisco 49ers. We on this show picked them to pull back, but they don't look even close to a Super Bowl team. What we learned last night from the Kansas City Chiefs is simply we have a new dynasty. There is no team that you should feel comfortable picking against them in a playoff situation. They are the New England Patriots dynasty of years ago, getting more out of less. It doesn't matter who goes down. If you want to beat the Chiefs, you're going to have to be better than them in clutch time situations. And when it matters most, outduel Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not so sure anyone can do that right now. All right, let's quickly talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers losing on Sunday Night Football to the Dallas Cowboys. Two organizations that seem to be pulling back, although one team had to win on Sunday night. And I've already talked about the Cowboys enough. I'll do that in another episode, potentially next week. What I haven't harped on is done my yearly get rid of Mike Tomlin take for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you haven't heard it, get ready. It's a doozy. I understand Mike Tomlin is everything that exudes Pittsburgh Steelers. He's tough, blue collar, he's a leader, fantastic at the podium each week with the media, does not shy down from anything. But at some point, you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. What is that? Insanity. This Pittsburgh Steelers team on offense is pathetic. Justin Fields, and credit to Mike Tomlin here, really quickly, and the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, Justin Fields doesn't look awful. He looks like a serviceable quarterback. And he should be the quarterback going forward for the rest of the season because at the end of the day, at least he gives them juice. Russell Wilson's not doing that. Maybe he's a little bit more accurate than Justin Fields, but who cares behind this offensive line that can't block anyone? Again, you're going to need a guy elusive like Justin Fields to get away. But this Pittsburgh Steelers team has looked like the same Pittsburgh Steelers team from the last 3 years of Ben Roethlisberger to now. Awesome defensively, will absolutely beat bottom-tier organizations handily, do not lose games that they are supposed to win, but when push comes to shove, they're not beating any of the elites in the AFC. They're not beating the Ravens in a playoff situation. They're not beating the Chiefs in a playoff situation. They're not beating the Bills in a playoff situation. And another organization in the Houston Texans, they're not beating them either. They're deficient at quarterback. Their offensive personnel seems to be checked out. And the common denominator in all these years, post-prime Ben Roethlisberger to now, the common denominator is not the players on defense. It's not the OC. It's not the offensive personnel. It's not the quarterback. It's the head coach. I appreciate that the Rooney family with the Pittsburgh Steelers is so incredibly well run. They're a good organization. They do all the things that they're supposed to do correctly. They give their coaches time. But at some point, it's time to move on. No one is calling Mike Tomlin a bad head coach. No one. You never have a losing season. You clearly are doing something right. You're clearly a Hall of Fame head coach. He won a Super Bowl. But you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're not the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're not the Cleveland Browns. Raise your standards. If the Jacksonville Jaguars never had a losing season, they'd be celebrating in the streets. But that's not the standard in Pittsburgh. The standard is Super Bowls. And you as an organization are bringing down that standard. And it just doesn't make any sense. Because the Pittsburgh Steelers can pick whatever head coach they want. Because they know they'll have stability in the front office. They know they'll have time to figure it out. And they know they'll have an owner that will get them exactly what they need to succeed. After that, it's strictly on the coach. At that point, if you can't succeed, it's just on you. You can't coach. I don't get it. I understand having the chemistry and the cohesion, but this isn't the Chiefs. We are not getting the same result that we like every year. You're just either barely making it into the playoffs, getting waxed in the first round, or you're not making the playoffs at all, but you didn't have a losing season. Is that really the standard in Pittsburgh? Did things change? The Pittsburgh Steelers team this Pittsburgh Steelers team is a defensive-led team in a consistently evolving offensive league. They are so far behind the rest of the NFL. And this idea that if you want to push Mike Tomlin out the door, you just think he's a pathetic head coach is not true. Mike Tomlin could go get a DC job and pick wherever he wanted to go. He would absolutely be a good head coach to build up an organization like potentially the Raiders. He'd get another head coaching job. You never have a losing season? Absolutely. But at some point, the same messaging, the consistency at the head coach position and not changing anything does get old after a while. Hearing the same person's voice and the same person's analogies and the same person's sayings and the same person's leadership qualities, at some point, you just need a change because players will then tune it out. You just have to do something. Now, you're not firing Mike Tomlin in season. He has earned the right to finish out the regular season as the head coach. But it just doesn't make any sense. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a well-run organization with a fantastic owner, a great front office, and they have shown they will give whatever head coach they hire the time that they need to succeed. They are a patient bunch for the good and for the worse at times. That is a recipe for getting whatever head coach you want. You want Ben Johnson? Go get him. You want Slowick over with the Texans? Go get him. It doesn't make any sense, this loyalty to Mike Tomlin, when year after year he is giving you the same results that aren't terrible, but they are not up to par with the Pittsburgh Steelers standards. It's just time to move on. After a while, the messaging just gets repetitive and players tune you out. You were once a proud organization whose standard was Super Bowls and playoff wins and AFC championship games. And now your standard for the fanboys waving the pom-poms in the stands is strictly didn't have a losing season. You're not the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're not the Cleveland Browns. You're not the Arizona Cardinals. Start acting like it and make a change. Make a move. Because the common denominator, and we already talked about this, look around. You said the old OC, Matt Canada, was the issue. Well, Arthur Smith's here now. Is it his fault now? It's a different personnel on defense. You're still spending all your money on defense. Offensive side of the ball. The Kenny Pickett's not there anymore. It's Justin Fields. At some point, you can make changes everywhere on this team. The OC, the quarterback, the defensive back position. At the end of the day, maybe you just have to change the head coach. Maybe you just have to admit, he's not bad, but he's not setting the standard that we expect here in Pittsburgh. And that's what matters. This, again, is not a third-tier organization. But after a while, with getting the same results of missing the playoffs or getting blown out in the first round, it will be that. I cannot believe I still get pushback over this Mike Tomlin should be moved off of take. I don't get it. Do Pittsburgh Steelers fans just love getting the same thing over again? You might make the playoffs. You have a competent head coach in a division that is worse than we thought. Well, not me, but worse than most people thought. Sure, you'll win 8, 9 games, potentially 10. Do you have any belief this team could win multiple playoff games? Do you have any belief this team could win one playoff game? That's the issue. At some point, the same messaging, the same sayings, the same Mike Tomlin, it just gets repetitive and old after a while. And to some point, you just have to make a change. And you just can't continue rolling out the same thing. And now you got players tuning it out so much where they're not even trying on the field. Listen, George Pickens, there is no excuse for him showing lackluster performance on the field. There's no excuse. They should bench that guy. But after a while, whether it's Martavis Bryant or Antonio Brown or Chase Claypool or George Pickens, why do they all have the same problem? They come from different schools. They come from different backgrounds. Maybe at some point, it's the messaging is so old and repetitive, it doesn't matter because they know what's going to happen. I'm not blaming Mike Tomlin for all of their issues. That's on them. But at some point, the common denominator between all those players, it's only one thing. And it ain't the OC, and it ain't the quarterback, and it ain't the corners. It's the head coach. It's time to move on in Pittsburgh. And the quicker you do that, the better you will be, especially with a slew of great head coaching candidates this offseason. And you, if you fire Mike Tomlin, being a competent organization from top to bottom, will have your pick from the litter first. It's time to move on from Mike Tomlin. Thanks so much for tuning into the Ben Garcia Show. We appreciate you making us a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. If you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate that as well. Don't forget, we will have a Thursday Night Football reaction. Huge game. Ginormous game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. We will continuously be uploading. It's on Tuesdays and Fridays. It has been awesome. It has been great. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you guys on Friday. And until then, I'm Benjamin Garcia, and it's been the Ben Garcia Show.